Okay, guys, we better move on. We're going to go to the Group 1 race number 7, the Fibre Fresh New Zealand Thoroughbred Breeders' Stakes. Group 1 over the 1600 for the fillies and mares. Oh, no, yeah, for the fillies and mares. What am I talking about? Of course it is. And, Steve, we got to 8 in the end. 8.
Yeah, a couple of late noms. I think one of them was being Zola Express and Asila J during the week. Gee, it's a real betting duel at the top of the market here, Thaddeus. Imperatriz v Coventina Bay. A stack of money on both them. They matched dollar for dollar yesterday when I left the office. Imperatriz was the best bat runner, but just in the last 12 hours on early doors Thursday, Coventina Bay has been the best bat runner. But as it stands, they matched dollar for dollar. Imperatriz, $2.10 and a turn to $2. Coventina Bay, $2.50, hasn't budged since the opening call. Two Alyssa in that third line, $5.50. Mai Tai, double figures, 16. Zola Express, 26 with Dragon Queen. One Dream, One Soul at 31. Asila J at $41. So there's the 8 runners. No clear lead. But overall, the punters are gravitating clearly to the 7, the 1, the 1, the 7.
Yeah, no surprise there, I would say. I would suggest, BP, that you could potentially, there'd be a few people that could argue that the 1 should be the favourite here, kind of Coventina Bay ahead of Imperatriz, but it looks an intriguing matchup.
It is, isn't it? It really is. It's almost a shame that we don't have the Levante angle to this race. I mean, that would have just added a little bit more cream, wouldn't it, if she was racing in this on the weekend. Unfortunately, not just a slight little niggle, so we'll see more of Levante next season. But you've got the horse at the top of the book in Coventina Bay. He's looking for 3 Group 1s on end. Was super in what she's done in her last 2 victories. Of course, one of them here in the Herbie Dyke, and then the last of them in the Bone Crusher. She's up against a horse who is the 3-year-old filly and the new kid on the block in Imperatriz. They're drawn right next door to each other. They've both got 1600 metre form. But then you've also got another horse in here that's a Group 1 winner that should not be forgotten, and that is Te Rapa too, who's won a Group 1 at this venue at Te Rapa. Over 1600 metres. Of course, it was the Captain Cook Stakes, which was transferred to here throughout the summer. And she was terrific in that race, and she's been able to hold her own, you know, during the summer and the spring races, of course, with what she's been able to do. So $5.50 the price for her. She could get into that zone where if it's just becoming a two-horse battle and she gets slightly forgotten, she could end up being a rather backable price. But just around these 2 horses, it's hard to separate them, isn't it? I'm leaning towards Coventina Bay, just with what she's done. She's had a very nice, quiet trial, as many of them were, I thought, in that trial out of Rotorua. And just how she's become a real winner, you know, in recent times. And as I said, she's tackled the big boys and girls, and she's proven that she is up to the quality she's up to. And now that they've got their eyes going back to Australia, they're looking to go back to Queensland. They've got some unfinished business with her preparation, 12 months ago over in Queensland. So Robbie Patterson's talking big of her preparation coming into this. So, look, hard to split, but maybe Coventina Bay just.
Coventina Bay, second favourite, Paul. Second favourite.
Yeah, I started looking at this race before the boys had released their odds, and I actually had Coventina Bay on top. So when it popped out at 250 second fave, my eyes sort of almost fell out of my head. Look, nothing against the filly. She's been super impressive to date. But I just thought at Coventina Bay, back-to-back Group 1s, I don't mind her dropping back to the mile. I think it's fantastic that they're drawn 1 and 2. They'll be able to eyeball one another the whole way if they want to, which, as BP said, could set it up for Te Rapa. They may forget about her. But I just thought Coventina Bay, just the way, what the Herbie Dyke, the Bone Crusher, she's a Group 1 horse, and she loves being a Group 1 horse. So, yeah, and I love the 250.
It's sort of like you and I, you know, we're going for the old dogs. Steve's gone for the young up-and-comer. We've gone with the tried and true here.
Yeah, the experience.
That's the experience, thank you. That's exactly what we've gone with. Steve, talk us through the process here and how did you land it on Imperatriz ahead of Coventina Bay?
Well, look, there's not much between them. Both prices, including myself, had Imperatriz on top, but maybe 4 or 5% between them, and 210, 250 on the opening quote. Look, I'm not confident that there'll be genuine separation come race day. I think that they've almost found their mark. I don't think Imperatriz will start deep into the red. I think you may get the black quote on race day around Imperatriz, even though she's already firmed. But I think because they take up 90% of the market to illicit, there's a strong case / chance that price will drift on her from a 550 quote, because obviously the closer we get to race start time, the traders will sharpen their pencil and get the overall percentage down. And being that the 1 and the 7 have been dominant in terms of turnover, I do feel to illicit that will be with a wiggle room in terms of what the wording with the traders to get it out in the 550 quote. But just on Coventina Bay, look, the Herbie Dyke win rated very high, 3.6 lengths above par. So it's going back to a place it's really hit a decent figure at. Did regress in winning the Bone Crusher around 3 lengths, but look, that's a slight concern, but no real knock. I think 1600, also no real knock. We know leading into this preparation, she was more sprinter miler, stepped up to the mile and a quarter and did the job. So it's had a 4 or 5 weeks between runs. A slight concern is the draw over a shorter trip. She could easily find herself back last on the inside of Zola Express against the paint. And being a tactical fear, which it possibly could be, I don't see too much tempo. I'd be surprised if they run even tempo here. And I think Isila J is your leader. And I reckon if you asked Opie where he'd like to map, it'd be outside Isila J. I think Dragon Queen might take a sit from barrier 8, come across slowly and try and find that 1-1 position. The enigma in terms of the map is One Dream, One Soul. Missed the start fractionally. They opted to go back last week. A few times this preparation they've gone forwards. I just not sure where to place that horse on the map. But that was my only concern. If it comes a real sprint home, it is a advantage in terms of Opie and Imperatriz, the filly, on the map. But in saying that, Coventina Bay does have that turn of foot. She probably has as good a turn of foot than any in the race, and she may need it. If you look at her sectionals, when she won the Herbie Dyke, it was comparable to what the sprinters produced in the Waikato Sprint on the same day. So she's definitely got that turn of foot, and she may need it with the terms of the race shape in the map.
Okay, BP, try and nail it down in one for me. Which way are you going here in the Thoroughbred breeders?
Yeah, look, Stephen makes some great points there. And of course, you go back to the Thorndon Mile where she drew barrier 1, didn't she? And she ended up in that sticky spot of sort of 3 and 4 back the rail in the Thorndon Mile, and she was doing all her best work to finish into 2nd position behind the chosen one. So she's drawn in barrier number 2. So just got to be mindful of just trying to find that right spot for her and not conceding too many lengths to her biggest danger, which of course is going to be in front of her, and that being Imperatriz. So that all sets up for the race, doesn't it? And she ran 2nd in the race last year at Te Rapa, and that was in behind Avantage where she got close. Can she go one better? And I will just mark her just in front of Imperatriz. I don't really think there's actually much over both her, Imperatriz, and To Illicit, to be completely honest with you, because if the race can work in To Illicit's favour, we know how good she is at the Group 1 level. She's proven it, and she has to be the biggest danger. And if you are watching markets, I think she's a horse that you'd be wanting to watch, and she could be the SP bet in the race. I think if you are looking to have a bet on To Illicit, toggle down to SP, because 550 currently, and if the market is strong between Coventina Bay and also Imperatriz, and you get the starting fixed odds price on To Illicit, it could be very much higher than what we get to start time. So it could be around that $7 mark maybe.
Perfect SP bet.
BP, what did you make of To Illicit's run? I know she failed in the Thorndon Mile when she was a loose fave, maybe even close 2nd fave that day. There was a lot of money around a few other horses on that day at Trentham, but she had to freshen up. It took her away, gave her a week or so in the paddock. What about the Tauranga? Now, I know it was a heavy deck and she was carrying 62 kegs, but was that just a pass mark, or did you expect more from her last start at Tauranga?
Yeah, look, when horses get beaten on heavy tracks with very big weights, look, I'm very happy to forgive them. I mean, you have to, don't you? Even with the class element that you always use when you're trying to back horses in those type of races. Look, she still finished 3rd. I know Manrico's beaten her in that race, and we know that she's a better horse than Manrico, but the conditions and everything fell in that horse's favour, and that was the right spot to be for Manrico, where To Illicit carrying extra weight on a track condition that wasn't suitable for her. She doesn't mind the little bit of dig in the ground, but when it starts pushing into that heavy bracket, that's when it becomes a question mark. So, yeah, I thought it was a pass mark for sure, because tomorrow's race or Saturday's race is going to be a better place for her. Less opposition on a better surface over 1,600 metres. She'll get her chance.
Yeah, 100%. One word, one or two words maybe for you in this year's Thoroughbred Breeders.
Coventina Bay.
Okay, you're going with the tried and true, the experience of Coventina Bay. You're going to be a cracking race, and Pops might be right. It might be the SP around 2 illicit. Might be the way to go if you're a 2 illicit fan.